All right. I think we're live.
We have 99 videos.
Yeah, we do. So when I post the next one tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., it's going to be a hundo. I feel like we should do a special video for tonight. Should me and you do a thank you for 100 videos? Nah, I'm messing. When we get to 100 subscribers, we'll do a 30-second thank you video and post it. Or maybe a reel. Just let me know when you confirm that we are indeed live.
We are indeed live.
Heck yeah. Oh, I can hear us over the please turn that down.
It's off. It's off.
You good. Okay. All right. The new setup. Look at that. Look at the smooth running. It appears to be no lag. No.
Brilliant. Let me get
frame.
that. That's just going to swing back every time, isn't it?
Yeah. Like prop it. Yeah, there you go. That'll get it. That'll do it. That'll do.
That'll do.
That'll do. Wait, what is that? Is that a
That from
Shrek? I feel like it's a Shrekky. That'll do. Help. We have no viewers. Help us.
Say it again.
That'll do. It's definitely, that's Scottish, right?
See, all I'm thinking of is a chicken from Chicken Run, but I really don't think that's it.
Hold up. Let's look up That'll Do in Scottish accent and see what comes up. Because I feel like it's an animated movie.
Yeah, I'm definitely, yeah.
That'll Do Pig. What is pig?
That'll do, pig, that'll do is something different.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. But look, I could
Those
be
are
wrong.
all songs. That'll do. Yeah, that's not it. Donkey? What that? I want to say it's Shrek. That'll do donkey. Yep, That'll do. It's from Shrek. Okay.
I think you may be right.
I'm gonna turn this up. It shouldn't. Hold up. Actually, let me pause it to be sure. I have the. Yeah, my desktop is turned down. Okay. Yes. Okay.
That's not what I was thinking of.
Oh, what were you thinking of?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Secondary test while we wait on JP. I mean, we still have no viewers, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to make a little 30-second recording and see, because usually that's when I feel like the frame rate's dropped. So I'm
Sure.
just going to start a recording. This is not the start of the podcast, and let's see what happens. We're recording. Look at that. Look at that. No frames dropping. I'm so excited. It only took a new computer. Totally worth it for us, for the guys, for the viewers. There's a lot of y'all,
Massive amounts.
Yep. None in here right now because y'all are all responsible and are going to bed to get up for your important jobs tomorrow. But,
I missed it. Sorry. Important jobs.
No. Yeah, but, anyway, let's stop this recording. Yeah, I think that's going to go really well. I'm just so excited. The issues we've been having have been weighing on me. Look at the crispness of that. I'm so excited.
That's pretty fancy. Shout out Omen.
Yeah. Whoa. They didn't sponsor this video.
Sorry. Don't shout out.
I should have
Omen.
put duct tape over the logo. Still no JP, but he should be here soon. Hopefully.
5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah. He's 5 minutes from home, and then you'll call when he gets there.
All right. Bet. So we just kind of vibe. We have a viewer. Welcome to our viewer. According to the top, it says we have a viewer.
Identify yourself. No, I'm just kidding.
If you're just joining us and I said the phrase, that'll do, what do you think that's from? Because if you missed it 2 minutes ago, me and Jack were confused and couldn't remember what the quote was from, but we figured it out. So would love your input to see if you know. Just the three of us vibing, the two of us and you, while we wait for JP. But yeah, I don't want to start talking about our week until our weekend, until JP gets here. Don't want to leave him out. This will be the first time that I haven't seen him because the past 2 weekends I've been to a wedding that he was also at. Oh, our viewer's gone. Bye.
We scared him out.
That's so sad. I was really hoping that they were going to respond. But yeah. What do you want to talk about while you wait? You're just going to scroll Twitter until you find something. You got to find something that's talkaboutable, but not important enough to be part of the podcast.
I mean, the U.S. men's national team advanced out of the group stage of the Gold Cup.
That
into
fits
the
that
knockout
niche.
round.
They're irrelevant enough that they don't belong.
Won all 3 games. Pretty ugly at times. It's not a very stellar squad we brought to the Gold Cup. A lot of our big names are missing for various reasons. So,
I saw someone complaining about our goalkeeper situation.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. We don't really have a good goalkeeper. Really miss Tim Howard.
What are you up to this summer?
I mean, give me 5 months. I'm there.
What would happen if you played if they put you in the goalkeeper of the U.S. national team? How bad would it be?
It'd be really bad.
Really?
Yeah, it'd be really bad.
That's tough.
Yeah, it'd be really bad.
That's a fun question of the week. If you put you on, I don't know. I'm just trying to think like it's kind of like the basketball team where it's like how you think it would be bad. That's interesting.
Yeah. I just wouldn't have ever faced a shot of that power
Yeah.
and like just the game of that quickness.
Except when
Anywhere
you're sitting there
close?
in goal, I feel like the quickness is less impactful to you. Like I feel like the quickness is probably more tangible when you're out there.
Like easier to track.
Or like the quickness is going to affect you more. You know? Cuz like when I think quickness, I think like passes are moving around really quick.
Mm-hmm.
But like I feel like when you're in goalie, you're stationary no matter what. Well, not stationary.
No, because
but
the goal's so big, you gotta like move from side to side in the goal and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And positioning is just so key for goalie. It's really
you know,
most of the battle is being in the right spot to be able to make this stop.
we can talk about our other soccer game, our new
Rematch.
rematch.
It's been a ton of fun.
Me and Jack have been playing a little bit. Well, we played one night of rematch, played 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Lost a lot, but
Had a couple cool moments that make me want to come back.
yeah, they do. I don't think I want to play by myself, so I'll be waiting until we get a chance to play again. I don't know that it sounds fun. I might get in and play a little practice, working my dribbles and stuff.
That's kind of what I was trying to do, and it's just hard because the skill gap is just massive right now. And since it's season 1, even like ranked isn't sparsed out at all because it's a brand new game.
Yeah.
And it's just a game that's really hard to play with randoms because trying to pass
Eurochem.
and communicate is really tough. And I can't really complain because I'm not very good at it either.
Yeah.
I'm
We did have that one awesome game that went to like an 8-minute overtime.
And
That was electric.
that was electric.
That game-winning goal, it was 0-0, right? 0-0.
I think it was, yeah. Maybe 1-1,
I don't think.
but I think it was 0-0. We had a couple overtime games, and I think we did have
Yeah.
one that was 1-1, but not the 8-minute one.
Yeah, 6 minutes of regulation, 8 minutes of OT. Nobody scored in 14 minutes, and then we hit the game winner. I'm excited to try out some other video games on my computer. Some Jedi Survivor. Yep, Fallen Order number 2. My old computer could not run it, physically incapable of running it, so I bought it when it was on sale, not knowing that. And then was like, well, I guess I will not be playing it, but now I get to play it. I'm trying to think of other things that we can talk about. Let's just talk about the NBA Finals. JP won't mind.
Yeah.
Imagine.
Hey, JP, we've already talked about it, man.
Yeah, we kind of covered it. We kind of covered all our bases there. Hockey. Hockey's over. No, we already talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Talked about that. That was winner with a chicken dinner. Did you see? Oh, never mind. I was gonna say, Stephen A. tweeted something about the Halliburton injury. We'll talk about the Halliburton injury later. But I really wanted to see a comment that was like, "Oh, glad you noticed over your solitaire." And there were people who were posting screenshots of solitaire. But
Tough injury, though, man.
it was,
It hurts.
man, asterisk. Big ol' asterisk on that
Yeah,
game.
Mickey Mouse ring. Let's say it before JP gets on
you
here.
said 15 minutes at 10 o'clock. We miss you.
He said 10 minutes, 11 minutes ago, so I'm assuming he's about to call.
I hope so. I'm running out of things to talk about.
I mean, I could.
Everything else is too important. We got to save it for the show.
I mean, Braves dropped a bad series today to the Marlins after sweeping the
We
Mets.
could talk about that.
Which just hurts. Pitched our worst starter today, so only giving up 5 runs isn't the worst thing for the game. He didn't give up. He did technically give up all 5, but the offense is just so bad. We have 4 of the worst 15 hitters in baseball are in our lineup pretty consistently.
Cool.
And so it doesn't really matter that Acuna is hitting like the best player in the NL and has a
He had the
WRC
leadoff double yesterday.
today. Has an on-base percentage of 500, stuff like that. It just simply doesn't matter because, everyone else is so bad, or the majority of the other players are so bad. So,
Man,
always next season. Here's JP.
let's go. What's up, JP?
You are live, JP. So
Oh,
careful what
crazy.
you say. We're not
Oh, I won't say
podcasting, but you are live.
It was poetic, man. The thunder start to roll, and a thunderstorm appears out of nowhere in Tupelo. Unironically,
Fire.
you can ask Joshua Duncan. He can attest. Not a made-up story.
Well, you want to go ahead and get rolling into the podcast portion of the show?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever y'all are.
Cool.
All right.
Hitting the button. Go. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Technical Foul Podcast. You're here as always with three of us, two in person. We have the OKC Glazer on the phone, JP, and then Sanders is in studio with me. But yeah, excited to bring you another show. It's episode 30-something.
34.
34. So kind of,
Big
still
old
roll.
34.
On the docket tonight, we have College World Series wrap-up. LSU did win that today. So they won the College World Series 2-0 over Coastal Carolina. We'll talk about that. Talk about NBA Finals Game 7. OKC
Depression.
are your new NBA champions. Shout out to them, I guess. I have a mock draft for y'all, or a mock draft of the lottery, so only the first 14 picks. And then we'll talk about the KD trade. So that's what's on the docket for tonight. But first, boys, how y'all doing? I know JP's doing great. So is he doing great?
Yeah, I'm doing great, man.
Perfect.
I was assuming Sanders was going to go first there.
No,
but
I was-
will
I feel like I
go
typically
ahead.
kick it over to you, JP.
That's true.
Take it away.
No, I'm doing great. Had a good time hanging out with Dunk, seeing his new house, watching some NBA. I thought the game was still very good, even though the unthinkable happened in the first 6 minutes. And I enjoyed it. And NBA history just changed forever. That's just tonight's Game 7 is just another chapter in the history of the league. And for me, for someone who loves the sport as much as I do, I am grateful regardless of result, regardless of how the media will portray it and how people I already know have portrayed it. I thought it was an excellent night and just another chapter in the great story of the NBA.
Sure. I will refrain from talking too much about it until we get into the segment.
Yeah.
But how are you, Sanders? How was your weekend?
I'm pretty good. We went down to Jackson.
I was gonna say I like how I said that. Like I didn't spend all weekend or a lot
Yeah.
of the weekend with you.
I mean, we
for
have
the viewers.
been together for the majority of our free time since Wednesday.
but
so,
correct. For the viewers,
Yeah,
how was
for
your
the
weekend?
viewers, my weekend, hopefully our weekend was great. I know my weekend was great.
I enjoyed mine.
Yeah. Went down to Jackson to see some friends of ours and got to play angle ball with them and eat lunch with them. And I got to be at home with my family, which is just, I don't know. It was just really fun. It's very nice. The new house is very relaxing. We moved. I can't remember. We talked about this, I'm sure. But just being in my family's new house and like getting to like be a part of that like new part of our life is super fun, and I love it, and it's very comfortable. So
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you basically said it pretty well. Weekend was very fun. Got to see some friends that were seniors when I was a freshman. So good to catch up. Now that they don't go to school anymore, I don't see them very often. And then hung out with my sister and brother-in-law, which was always a good time. So had to go get shoes for my wedding, which we are T-minus 3 weeks
that's crazy.
to my wedding.
To the day? Yesterday.
Yeah, 20 days to the wedding.
Hype. Hype.
So have to kind of finalize things for that, and then I'll be out of studio for a week. Use my PTO for the honeymoon.
You'll be on Discord, right?
Yeah, sure. You can bring that up with Lucy.
I think that's already been brought up.
She's an employee of the
True.
podcast.
True. We kind of need her here too.
Well, and she probably doesn't even have PTO yet because she just started. Like
Yeah.
she hasn't accrued that over
Well,
time.
she starts August 1st, so
Oh, okay. So
right.
she's
I mean,
good.
we don't
then.
really need her.
Is that our?
She's currently
Is
unemployed.
that our move-in date?
Moving date is TBD. Moving date it'll be the first time that it'll be when all three of us are back in Starkville permanently. Also, I just want to say this: living in Jackson, we left lunch today, and it was 6 minutes back to our house. I'm never gonna get over that. I'm sorry. I told my mom, I was like, every time I get in the car to leave somewhere to go home, I forget, and it's like a little surprise.
You're like ready to buckle in.
I am. Because
Yeah.
growing up for 18 years, living outside of Jackson, it was a 45-minute drive from church, from like whatever we had in Jackson, appointments, doctor's appointments, going to see a movie, 45 minutes back home. And now we wrap up and I buckle in and I'm like, oh, like it's 6 minutes. This is exciting. It's like the best part of any day is getting to go home and only have to drive 6 minutes.
It's a pretty huge dub. When you think about driving 45 minutes here, there and back to anything, that's, I mean, over a 24th of your day is gone like that.
That's crazy.
So, that really does suck. But now it doesn't.
Now it doesn't. It's
now
great
it doesn't.
now.
I'm glad you find joy in the little things.
I try.
All right. First, I figured order we'd go College World Series recap because I don't think that'll take that long.
Okay.
Then we won't keep JP waiting any longer. We can do NBA Finals Game 7, KD trade, lottery.
I mean, if we wanted to save the baseball thing for last, I don't know if JP wants to get off as soon as possible to be up tomorrow morning.
JP?
I wish I cared, man.
Wish you could.
About getting up or?
No, I'm here for the full night, boys.
Perfect.
All right, sounds good. Then we will go ahead and kick it off with Men's College World Series. Men's College World Series wrapped up today. LSU gets, I don't actually remember what the final score was. I know Coastal Carolina made it close at the end.
5-3.
5-3. It was
Yep.
5-1 until the 9th, I believe.
Eighth or 7th or 8th.
Okay.
Coastal hit a 2-run home run to make it 5-3.
But it was Friday or Saturday was a much closer game. It was 1-0 at the bottom of the first and stayed that way until the end of the game. It was a really unfortunate first inning. Coastal Carolina, the shortstop has I would call it a tiny mental error. In the moment, it wasn't the biggest deal. There's a runner on first with 1 out, I believe. He takes a grounder, and instead of flipping it to the second baseman to get the lead guy at second, he just slings it to first.
Sure.
Takes the easy out. Then you have 2 outs, runner on second. LSU hits a single, scores a run, and then Coastal Carolina gets out of the inning without allowing anything else. But it was just really, it was the only run of the 9 innings allowed. And it was
Big deal.
yeah, it was in the moment. It was not as painful because you didn't know it was going to be the only run. You kind of assumed Coastal Carolina was going to be able to get one. They had a lot of opportunities. At one point, they finished 0 for with runners in scoring position, and at one point it was 0 for 8. So they had at least 8 guys in scoring position and were not able to capitalize on any of them. So pretty tough 2 games from Coastal. The 28 game win streak comes to an end.
26, I believe.
Yeah. So they had a long win streak that comes to an end. They finish on a 2-game lose streak. But that's enough about Coastal. LSU just looked really good. Their 2 pitchers, their starting pitcher on Saturday, the projected number 1 overall pick, or a potential number 1 overall pick in this coming MLB draft, was just insane. No runs allowed, win a complete game, over 120 pitches, which is just, I mean, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I was watching it, and I watch more and more of the postseason of college baseball every year. But I feel like that's one of those things that you just don't see in the regular season. And then every
Correct.
year there's a guy or a couple guys that just kind of go out and they leave everything on the field. And they do what you kind of forget is possible because the whole regular season you've got guys on pitch counts and you've got coaches pulling guys in the 7th inning and the 8th inning with, they're throwing a no-hitter or a perfect game and they pull them. But in the postseason, they don't. They throw them back out there and they just keep going. It's insane. So LSU gets their 2nd World Series in 3 years, their 8th national championship in program history. So, yeah, they were a very good team. Shout out Jack.
Thank you.
Nailed it with the Coastal Carolina versus LSU matchup and then picked the winner. Me and JP both went 0 for 2. Or JP, did you pick Coastal?
That's not how that works. I went 1 for 2.
Yeah,
so.
JP
1
had
for
Coastal.
2. You had Coastal? I went 0 for 2. I was about to correct myself. I was asking if JP had Coastal. I couldn't remember. I don't have that memorized.
Happy to be right. I do wish Coastal won. I just really don't like LSU.
Yep.
Shocker. I've already mentioned on the show, Coastal kind of has a special place in my heart. But yeah, LSU's just finished the season really strong, had been strong throughout the postseason. Their pitching staff is just so talented. The stuff they have out there from just an arm talent
Did
standpoint.
they throw 3 guys? They pitched a starter, and then they had a starter today. I stopped watching.
It may have just kind of been their 3 guys.
That's kind of crazy.
Which all throw heat.
Yeah.
All have good secondary stuff. It's just always going to be a tall task for Coastal, which they came in hot, so I did think there was a chance because this is baseball, and if the team's hot, that's all it takes.
We didn't even talk about the first inning today.
Well, that's what I was about to
Go
say.
for
It's
it.
kind of the big news of today was Coastal's coach. Well, secondary big news. The big news is LSU won. But Coastal's coach and first base coach got thrown out in the first inning of the game for arguing balls and strikes. Based on everything I've seen in the video, there was no reason for them to be thrown out. Coastal's coach basically said, "You've now missed three, you've now missed 3 calls," and he was like 2 steps out of the dugout, and the ump tosses him. So just a complete ump show, and then you have the ump that trips and falls, and then acts like he gets pushed, and so adds onto the suspension.
Yeah.
Just kind of a bad look all around. It's just college baseball umps are truly terrible.
Yeah.
As much as I like kind of rag on MLB umps because they're bad too, it becomes next level with college. And I've seen a lot of people say like stuff like that can't happen in the finals or like in the final game, which is true, but like realistically stuff like that just can't happen ever. But it's like, especially on a national stage, like college baseball doesn't really get the spotlight very often. And so then when some people that tune in that probably don't normally watch see that, it's just not great for the product.
Yeah. I will say one more thing about the product is from all of the people who were talking about the environment there, I was a little disappointed in what I heard. And, I get that the SEC is dominant and all that, but it seemed like everything about the production was in support of LSU. And I get that LSU has a lot of money and LSU is a big name program. But I also think the reality is I would say that over like the majority of the people watching were probably rooting for Coastal Carolina.
Sure.
So it's just a little disappointing how much media attention was on LSU when it was like this other team just has won 26 straight games to be here, just like LSU is also like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a little sad.
Well, that's also part of the problem is when you bring in an announcer that doesn't really do college games and is like an MLB guy and like clearly doesn't know the sport and know the players. I'm doing it stuff like that. I didn't watch closely. I either didn't have it on or it was kind of background.
Yeah.
So I don't really know about production being biased. It also is just probably always going to be a little biased when LSU is going to be the team that packs out the place.
Yeah.
And has a lot more fans and stuff. It is just kind of luck of the draw in that sense, I guess. But they probably could have done a better job.
Yeah. But we look towards next year. I showed Jack a graphic earlier from this preseason, the preseason for the 2025 season, that had 50 college baseball coaches voting for their pick to win the championship. A&M had 84% of the votes, I believe. So I'm excited to start looking towards next preseason when hopefully Mississippi State shows up on that list.
Apparently, you don't want to show up on that list.
Yeah.
You want to be second on the list because LSU was second on the list.
LSU was second. Virginia was also on the list.
Mm-hmm. So maybe don't be on the list.
I mean, the winner was on the list.
Obviously you never know because it's sports, but like there is kind of a world where Jim Schlossnagle stays at A&M, and he now has a natty, and we have a natty.
Yeah.
Like the odds would have been a lot higher, but
yeah,
he chose Texas over a natty. So
yep, and a first round elimination or a regional elimination.
Yeah, they lost to the Roadrunners.
Yeah. So shout out Jim Schlossnagle, gig 'em.
He did. Yeah, he did say that. He's still
All
an
right.
Aggie at heart.
I'm down to keep moving. That was College World Series was super fun. College baseball super fun. It's football season. Well, we'll finish the NBA playoffs and then it's football season.
Draft on Wednesday, and then I'll give you it's football season.
Okay, awesome.
I'm holding out for that. Yeah, we can move on unless JP, you have anything you want to add.
No, I do want to say though that I was correct. I gave the script. I told you 2 teams had a chance. One of those teams won.
Yeah.
6 straight for the SEC. So
that is the standard right now, is to have those 3 letters on your jersey, and that is continued to be proven again.
Dare I say it just means more.
It does. It is. It definitely means more. So look for that to be a continued story next year, I hope, with the maroon and white of the dogs. We'll see. But
Good clarification there with the dogs. Jack was taking a breath to say something. I could see it in his eyes.
Yeah, he didn't give me time, sadly. Y'all should have a good
I
team.
was correct. I'm going to give myself flowers for that at
Take
this
'em.
moment before I take even more flowers here in just a little bit. But
Sure. Well, you can take them right now because we're moving on to the finals, Game 7. I can give a quick rundown of the game real quick, and then you can hop in, JP. Game 7, first Game 7 since 2016. Cavs, Warriors. Started off electric. Tyrese Halliburton comes out of the gate red hot, locked in, has hit 3 threes, and then has an awkward play where he goes down trying to make a pass and immediately starts basically hammering the floor with his hand, and it cuts to him, and he's just in agony, and you can just kind of tell this isn't just like he restrained his calf. It wasn't a re-aggravation of that injury. And then it cuts to the replay, and you can clearly see. I guess it's not been confirmed, but it's an Achilles injury. It really looks like it popped. It's pretty vivid,
I think
pretty
it's the
clear.
clearest one I've ever seen.
ESPN also decided to show us 50 times during the game. So if you weren't sure by the first 10 times you watched it, you had another 40 to really make sure you saw it right. And that deafened the mood for a little bit. It was kind of a sloppy rest of the first half. And then kind of from there, second half starts. OKC really starts to pick up. They build up a 20-point lead at one point. Indiana tries to fight back. TJ McConnell gave big minutes. But Shea played a good game. OKC's defense was really good, really active. Lou Dort steals. Alex Caruso steals. Chet played good defense. And it was just too much. So when Indiana did try and mount their comeback, it was just too little too late. And OKC, like I said earlier, are your 2025 NBA champions. So, JP, you can hop in, take your flowers, take your victory lap. Go right ahead.
Yeah, I do want to say I picked them to win the championship. I felt that this was a team that was different than the precedent that was laid before them. This is the second youngest team to ever reach the NBA Finals. The first to win it, of course, and the youngest to win it, of course. This was a team that, having watched them plenty of times this season, and then having seen their previous postseason run last season, they add the key additions in Alex Caruso and Isaiah Hartenstein. And then for the big question coming into the postseason was Jalen Williams and a Chet Holmgren that had only played roughly 20 games that season going to be enough to help SGA allow this team to reach their goals and to reach the championship and ultimately win the championship? And they did. They did that. A ton of credit, especially to Jalen Williams. He was absolutely incredible throughout the postseason. Terrific in Game 7 against the Nuggets. Terrific in the Timberwolves series. In Game 5 in this series, he has a 40-point finals game. Not many people can say they've ever done that. And so he deserves a ton of credit for that. SGA was just absolutely terrific again. It was the way he played today is just another, it will go down in history, for me at least, as just another pinnacle, brilliant Game 7 performance. He was terrific. He kept the team engaged in the game and really is the reason that the game was even close in the first half, because outside of SGA, the Thunder had nothing in terms of an offensive push. J-Dub and Chet came along in the second half, and Cason Wallace played well in the second half, but it was SGA only in that first half. And the Thunder win a championship. It's their first, in my eyes, the first championship of that franchise, especially with the era we're heading towards, where it's more than likely Seattle's getting a team and they're getting the Supersonics back.
Sure.
So for me, I think it's awesome that the Thunder now have a title that they're going to be able to claim whenever that does happen. For me, growing up being a Thunder fan and cheering through the Katie Westbrook years, and then cheering for the Thunder when Kevin Durant left, and cheering for those Westbrook teams, and just the way that the fan base had always been just invigorated and completely connected with this team, it's really unlike any other fan base really out there for being such a small market in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Like, when they do the pan view of the blimp shot or whatever you want to call it, outside the arena, I mean, it doesn't look much bigger than. It's definitely not. It definitely doesn't look much bigger than Jackson, Mississippi. Sanders, I don't know. You can kind of attest to that. It is. I mean, that is a tiny town and a very small market, and yet that fan base is just completely in love with their team. And for me, it feels so good that fan base has a champion, and that they got to see a champion win it in their home building tonight. I think it's just terrific for them and for that fan base, and it felt great for me having grown up watching this Thunder team and watching that Thunder fan base. It's awesome to see that they were able to cap this championship off.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for the fans. And it was very earned. I joked in the chat about Mickey Mouse ring and stuff like that because of the Tyrese injury. But it was earned. It was deserved. And Shea really did cap off one of the best seasons ever, just with MVP, winning the finals, yada, yada, yada. He really just did it all, and he did carry this team. For me, the game did kind of take a turn when Tyrese went down in terms of enjoyment. I feel like I've kind of had a pit in my stomach since that moment because I just really feel for the guy. I feel like he deserved a chance to kind of finalize what has been a legendary run from him in terms of clutch shots and big performances. So just for him to go out like that, it really hurts. But shout out OKC. I want to shout out my guy Alex Caruso, Texas A&M legend, now 2-time NBA champion. So have to give him some love. One of my favorite players of all time. So
yeah, I want to get into the Hallie injury more, but I'll get into that later so that Sanders can clip that better.
okay,
Because I think it's going to be a good little 10-minute conversation.
sounds good.
I have some really interesting thoughts on it. For the game, go ahead, Jack. What were you gonna say?
I was just saying I'll refrain from Tyrese stuff then too.
No, you're fine.
Go ahead and talk about the game.
Repeat all of it.
Sure,
For the
that's
game
true.
itself, I did not feel that way, and that is not just me saying that as a Thunder guy. For me, it felt no different than the KD injury in Game 5 against the Toronto Raptors. And if you remember correctly, the team that won that game was a team that had the player that got hurt, the best player that got hurt after cooking in the first quarter. And that first half showed no difference in that. The Pacers were responding. And I felt going for that game, and I said it, like they were going to have to sustain it somehow. And they were going to have to get into a spot where they were in the fourth quarter. They enter the fourth quarter, and they're only down by about 5 or so, and then they would have a chance. And unfortunately, they couldn't get that done in the third quarter. They have some bad first 3 minutes and then bad last 3 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, obviously have the terrific TJ McConnell minutes in those middle 6. And, you know, TJ is the only guy that scores for a large period of that time.
Pretty inexcusable, honestly.
It is. I think a big portion of this was just on the Pacers side, they just kind of got away from some spots that had been productive for them, and it felt like it became more so just TJ McConnell or Benedict Mathurin or even Nembhard at times. Can you get to the rim? Like, can you just get lucky and get to the rim and get a layup off?
A lot of ISO
like, there
stuff.
was really a ton of ISO. The offensive movement that they had in those first 6 minutes was really terrific. And a large part of it looks good because they were hitting threes early, but they were shooting with confidence, and they were I say that because they were unafraid to take big shots in a big moment. And it felt like as we got down later into the game that it just became, can we somehow get to the rim to get a layup? Because that is the only shot we have a ton of confidence in right now.
Sure.
Siakam took a few shots throughout the game where it's like, okay, yeah, but like a ton of those shots were just like unbelievably contested, which is, again, credit to OKC's defense. On the Thunder side, I got to give, a ton of credit to J-Dub and Chet for responding. They really gave excellent performances after a really poor first half. the Lou Dort experience is unlike any other.
It's an acid trip, basically.
He shot 9 threes. He was 2 for 9 from 3. I would argue 7 of those threes were the worst 3-point shot attempts you've ever seen in your entire life. And the 2 that he made, one was literally from half court, and the other one was just a standard 3 in the first half. I mean, the one he made from half court was ridiculous. It reminded me of Curry's 3.
It was nuts.
Against the Cavs in that NBA Finals in 2018. The Lou Dort experience is absolutely insane. I got to give Cason Wallace some flowers. I spoke about him a ton in our chat. His experience is something unlike any other. He makes plays that make you think, oh, yeah, this guy after next season is going to develop into a guy that's going to get a max contract. And that may sound crazy to hear, like Cason Wallace max contract. But you got to remember who gets max contracts. Everybody in this version in the NBA. Everybody's got money and someone's going to pay you.
Yeah.
And Cason Wallace, if he makes plays like he did in the terrific ones, he'll be in that spot where he could be a max contract guy. But on the same time, he makes some inexplicable young mistakes, takes some poor shots. He's really, even though he was 2 for 3 from 3 tonight, he's got to find some kind of confidence or a go-to shot or something on that case. I personally don't think he should try to go down the 3-and-D route, especially if he's going to be on a max contract. You can't pay max money for a 3-and-D guy.
Correct.
He's too early in his career to not develop into some kind of scorer for that.
It may just be tough for him to do that on this Thunder team.
Sure. I agree. I wonder if he'll get some more of that shine potentially next season, especially in a bench role, a 6-man potential role, because he's really kind of like the 6th best guy at the bench. Caruso can be that at nights. Aaron Wiggins can, but for the most part, like you'd say, Cason is the surefire 6-man. There are a ton of questions in the third quarter. I want to talk about this. Is the Rick Carlisle coaching decisions. The big pushback was, why is Pascal Siakam not on the floor? And I want to say, like, if you don't understand why Pascal Siakam wasn't on the floor, then you don't understand, like, how difficult it is to be a head coach and to manage rotations, especially when you're put in a spot where a guy that's you coming into the night think is going to play 38 to 42 minutes for you goes down in 7 minutes, and you have to make adjustments to your rotation. And what they were doing and what they did do was take Siakam off early in the third quarter, let him rest, and then he was going to play the entire fourth quarter so he didn't run out of gas in the last 5 minutes. And the big pushback occurs only because it didn't pan out. And my goodness, man, it's okay. Sometimes it doesn't pan out. Like, I don't understand the pushback on Rick Carlisle there. You can't, this is going to be a common theme for me throughout the rest of the night, I feel like. You can't say, oh my gosh, this guy's such an incredible coach. He's such an incredible coach. If he wins the championship, he might be a top 10 coach ever. He really knows how to put a team together and lead a team to a spot where they shouldn't be. And then, like, question a coaching decision in the third quarter. Like, I get it. Game 7 of the finals, you got to have it. But Siakam played 37 minutes out of 48, and he was not – it's not like he was being super effective. It's not like it was Jokic or it was Luka or Giannis where, like, he had 28 points at that point. Like, he's got to try something else because he needed a jolt. My biggest coaching gripe for him was I thought he brought in T.J. McConnell way too early, and that showed. I mean, those first 2 to 3 minutes of McConnell were not good enough. McConnell throughout the entire series had been prolific in the minutes where a Cason Wallace was guarding him or an Aaron Wiggins was guarding him, and neither of those players were on the floor at the time. So just for me, it felt too early to bring them in, even if it felt like the game was teetering.
Well, it's Rick Carlisle, so you can't question his decisions,
Sure. I agree. But if I had pushback, it would have been that, not the Siakam, because it showed. It showed in those 6 minutes where McConnell was effective. as soon as Casey Wallace came on the floor, he tore him apart.
I mean, he tore everyone apart down the stretch, though. Starters, it didn't matter. I mean, Casey Wallace, I agree that he had best success against Casey Wallace. I don't know. My thing is, I think you can agree that Rick Carlisle is a great coach and still think he made a wrong decision. And I get the fact that it's standard to rest your guy and hope he plays the whole fourth. But they needed something, and if they're not going to have any ball movement and they're not going to pass the rock and they're going to play a lot of ISO, Siakam's the best ISO player on the team. And so I want him on the floor. I get it's like a difference in philosophy, and I get that I'm not the head coach. It's just my opinion that I would want him on the floor instead of sitting him for like 6 to 7 minutes straight and watching the lead bloom. So,
sure.
And I mean, if you sit Siakam and the game stays close, then yeah, I'll try and steal more minutes with Siakam on the bench. But as soon as the game starts to go downhill, I'd kind of like him in there because also, even if he wasn't having the best offensive night, he's one of the better defenders on the Pacers team. He was phenomenal with rim protection and help side defense, and I think they could have used that in the third as well. Though realistically, with how much they were turning the ball over, it wasn't like they were playing much half-court defense.
Nope.
So, in my eyes, like looking at the game, so Hallie goes down, and the rest of the first half was kind of muddled, and we got to halftime, and the Pacers were actually up 1. And it was like, okay, the Pacers can win this. But in my eyes, it was like, man, OKC just played a terrible half. And if they can play well, if they can find a way to play like they normally do in the second half, which obviously maybe they wouldn't. But I didn't really see a way for Indiana to elevate their play much more outside of the first half. Barring just an insane pop-off performance from Pascal Siakam where he hits everything, or Benedict Mathurin just hits everything. And that's kind of what happened. OKC, settled in at halftime. Dagnall said we needed to say. They came out, they locked in defensively. The guys got going offensively, and the Pacers just had no answer. They kept jacking up the shots they were jacking up in the first half. Not much flow, turning the ball over, and it just kind of fell apart from there. So
it really was another one of those quarters that, for me, I've seen all season long from them, where it just became, okay, let's just lock in defensively and we're good. We saw this in Game 4 against the Denver Nuggets. We saw this again in the Denver series. We saw this in the Timberwolves series, and we even saw this in the NBA Finals. Like, they really were a team built on defense first, and they allowed that defense to explode into offense. And I think it speaks a ton about how prolific of a team it was that they were able to, even in the biggest spots throughout, for most of them, their first deep postseason run, find something that worked and getting it done for a quarter. And it was defense for them, and they were able to do that the entire postseason long.
Yeah,
it speaks a ton to them. I want to push back on I know you're kind of joking there, but NBA Twitter is not joking, and I don't think the NBA fan is joking either in the Mickey Mouse title claims. One of the most popular tweets that's out there right now, I assume it's probably up to 100,000 likes, is the one with pictures of all the injuries. I'll go ahead through each of them. Ja Morant, the first one. Jack, I'll do this by asking you questions,
okay,
which is at the same time going to be asking a listener the question as well, so you answer it.
Sure.
If you're listening as well. Jack, would you say going into the series against Ja Morant and the Grizzlies had any chance to win that series?
No, I mean, if you went and looked at our preview of the NBA playoffs, I think we made that pretty clear.
Then why the hell does the Ja Morant injury matter? There you go. There's number one. Number two, it would go into the Aaron Gordon injury. Jack, when would you say in that series Aaron Gordon was hurt and ineffective? And then my second question would be, Gordon was terrific throughout the postseason up until that point, correct?
Yeah. if I'm remembering
Yeah.
correctly. Yeah.
And he hits the game winner in game 1 against the Thunder.
Yeah.
So we can't say, it felt like they were out without Aaron Gordon the entire series. Well, who cares? Like, people get hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And you can't use that as a pushback because they had gotten to a game 7 against a defending champion and the best player in the world, and they won that game 7. As much as Jokic tried to take it from them. The third one would be Steph Curry and the Warriors and his hamstring injury. And I can understand how, and I'm a Warriors guy too. I feel like it would have been a very interesting series if the Thunder and the Warriors were to have played in the Western Conference Finals. But Jack, I'll ask you, how were the Timberwolves viewed going into the Western Conference Finals?
You mean like
in terms of their stature, where they kind of stood amongst the 4 teams that were left?
Gotcha.
Did they have a chance?
No, I mean, I don't really feel like people thought they had much of a chance. I personally didn't.
Okay, I kind of disagree with that. They were
Okay.
kind of the fan favorite, it felt like for me. And this is a team that had been to the Western Conference Finals last year.
Sure.
This is a team that knocked out Luka and LeBron, and no one said they had a chance then. So I felt like they had 2 series wins under their belt. I thought they were very impressive in the Warriors series post Steph getting hurt in post game 1. So I kind of that would be my pushback there. So for me, I don't feel like the Steph Curry injury has any impact on the Thunder in their Western Conference Finals. And then finally, I think for the Halliburton injury, it is, it happened. It happened in Game 7. But again, this goes back to what I said the last time we talked, was we can't change our narrative there where, the Thunder were prolific favorites coming to the series, but that's Vegas odds. And ultimately, the game is played out in person and on a court. And, the Patriots were really favored over the Giants, but the helmet catch happened and they won the series. And that throughout history, underdogs win. If the favorites won every time, Vegas wouldn't make any money. So you can't say when the Pacers take game 1 and they take game 3 that, they're good, they have a chance, because they clearly proved that they were on the same playing field as the Thunder. And injuries happen. It sucks Halliburton got hurt in the first 6 minutes. That image right after they win the championship where he's sitting there in the hall is just insanely painful, and that sucks. But that happens. Injuries happen. That is, you can't. Does the Raptors title have an asterisk?
No.
Do the Celtics title have an asterisk last year even? Does the Warriors title have an asterisk 2 years ago? I wouldn't say so. So I hate it. I hate Twitter so much. This has been a common theme for me since we started this show, and it just sucks. That app sucks. The fans suck on there, and what should be happening tonight is celebrating the Thunder winning a championship, becoming one of the great teams ever. I'll go ahead and list off a bunch of the accomplishments. They won 84 games. Only 4 teams have ever done that in NBA history. 2 Michael Jordan teams and the Steph Curry Warriors that lost the title. They won games by an average of 12.9 points. That is the largest scoring differential in NBA history. I'll ask a question to you, Jack, here. Is the Western Conference any good?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, they're
Pretty great.
damn good, and they were the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, and they came out of the Western Conference. And so I think that in itself is a statement of its own at how terrific this team is. And they're going to go into a Western Conference next year that's going to be even better, and I don't expect them to falter very much because of their depth, and I think they're going to keep a ton of their depth. But I say all that to just say, celebrate the damn championship. Quit hating for no reason. and enjoy another chapter in NBA history because, yeah, some chapters suck. You don't like them, but, a movie wouldn't be good if the hero won every single time or your hero won every single time. So enjoy it because, for me, like, I hate Patrick Mahomes winning championships, but it doesn't mean that's not a part of NFL history.
Sure.
So quit trying to discredit it. Instead, just celebrate it, or at least be okay with it, accept that it happened, and move on, as Kendrick Perkins would say.
Yeah.
Move the hell on.
I think it's a good clarification because I definitely will give it credit and acknowledge it. I've already said it's not a Mickey Mouse ring. I don't think you'll find me celebrating it very much, just for various reasons of I'm just not the biggest fan of this Thunder team. But what they did was amazing. I mean, you just rattled off their accomplishments, and I'm not going to take that away from them. As NBA Twitter might. At this point, I mean, NBA Twitter is going to call any ring a Mickey Mouse ring, because you can find a reason to do that with any title. So you just kind of got to let it roll off your back. But I'll definitely give them credit.
They did win.
I'm not going to be popping a champagne bottle tonight or anything like that.
Nope.
I won't either.
We got work. You got work tomorrow, so.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. All right, Sanders, here's your end point to the Halliburton clip. So Halliburton gets injured first 7 minutes of the NBA Finals. This was something that had been challenging him throughout the NBA Finals. I would argue it's also been challenging him a ton throughout this postseason. As early as game 2, Shams calls it a lower left thing or whatever he called it. I bring this up because I saw a tweet during the game after the injury from Victor Oladipo, who's very well known for his tragic injuries, and he's a Pacers guy as well.
Sure.
And he tweeted, "In the finals, ? So we just gonna keep playing, right? ? Like it's okay, right? ? Like it ain't happen, huh? ? And he keeps going on. But his main point here is that the doctors and the NBA, the NBA team doctors and the medical personnel and the coaches and the players, but specifically the medical staff, are doing a poor job at protecting the players. And I think he makes a decent point. And Dr. Brian Suter has already put a video out about Halliburton's injury, and I think he kind of makes – I haven't watched it yet, but I'm pretty sure he makes a very similar point in this, that, yes, it is the NBA Finals, and I get it. And Halliburton said it in his post-game press conference following Game 5 was, yeah, if I can walk, I'm going to be out there and try to play. But I think it's kind of, for me, it gets into a larger theme, and it could be an interesting theme going forward if this is a headline that kind of gets some wind. It feels like and I almost feel this way, where we should head to a place where medical personnel are neutral, and it almost becomes like concussions in the NFL, where if you're just not good and you're just not ready, you shouldn't be allowed back out there, because things like this can happen. And this now has plenty of precedent for it.
Yeah.
Twice it happened in this playoffs. Damian Lillard, lower left calf strain. He rushes back to play in the playoffs, pops his Achilles. You go back to the 2019 finals with Kevin Durant, calf strain in the NBA playoffs against the Rockets, rushes back to play in Game 5, down 3-1 for the Warriors, pops his Achilles. And Halliburton is a little different because he played through multiple games, but you continue to play on something that is strained, you're going to give yourself more chances to injure it, pops his Achilles. And I asked both of y'all, and Sanders, you can give your opinion on this as well. Where do y'all see that? Like, is this something that, for me, I feel like we should go to a neutral staff, especially for injuries that could be as significant as this, because we have to protect the players, because for this Halliburton injury and for the Jason Tatum injury, like, he's not going to play at all next season, and he's more than likely not going to be the same 2 seasons from now. So realistically, he's back to the form he's in right now in 3 seasons. Like, that is robbing a player a ton of his career.
Yeah.
And while I get it, it's the NBA Finals. It may be his only chance to ever win it, but, like, where do you do the trade-off there? Because at the end of the day, like, for me, I think you have to protect the players, and for me, it would be go to a neutral medical staff.
I've got.
Yeah, you go first.
I don't know what the current setup of the medical staff for the NBA is now. I imagine that my thought is that if you went to a neutral medical staff, you would not necessarily solve the issue, because you would still have neutral medical staff assigned to a team for the entire season, because you're not going to want to be changing doctors on players, right? So the players are gonna consistently be dealing with the same neutral doctors, and I wonder if that, like, one doctor being with a team for a year or multiple years, like, that neutral aspect fades and they become, like, attached to the players and buddies with the players, and the players are like, hey doc, like, I'm playing tonight, and the dude, yeah, you know what, Tyrese, like, you go get him, buddy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily know. I don't know what the setup is now. I don't know if they are paid.
I can explain it for you if you want.
Go for it.
So right now, they are team doctors. They're hired by the organization. They're not working out of some medical company. They're hired by the organization. And so because of that, they are put in spots a ton of the time, as far as I understand it, where the team is pushing them to try and get their players back as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And that's a common theme with a lot of these injury conversations, is that's the first question you ask, is when is he coming back? It's not, is he okay? Is he going to be okay? Is he going to fully recover? It's, when can he come back and even play at 50%? And that is because we're in this spot where we have team doctors. They're hired by the organization, and that is what they're kind of being told to do, is, I want my dude back as soon as possible, even if he's at 50%. So that's kind of the current landscape. And for me, I feel like it should be like the NFL in a way where if a guy's got a concussion, the guy's got a concussion, that's a protocol. He can't come back in the game. He can't come back and play next week.
But the concussion, I believe, is the only medical situation where they bring in the neutral doctor. I believe everything else is handled by team doctors.
So that's kind of how I would do it, is I would keep team doctors, right? But then
I would too.
You would have, so you have an injury report, right? And the players show up for the game, and there's like an NBA staff there, medical staff there. And if, like, Tyrese wants to play, he has to go to the medical staff person first and get cleared. The team doctor can still treat him, right? Because I do think that relationship matters, right?
Yep.
Is having continuity. You can't just, like, rotate guys the whole time. That's not going to be good for people's health either. But having, someone clear them, and just, some random NBA doctor clear them before they can play for certain injuries. I mean, if someone, I mean, pinky contusion or something like that, I don't necessarily think they need to get cleared by the doctor. But this is another point I wanted to make that JP basically already made. It's pretty clear that calf strains have dangerous implications when you play on them at this point. There's enough data to suggest that. So that is something that needs to not be taken lightly. We've seen, like, people, what are they going to say? I started reading the comment. Yeah, and we've seen people take them pretty seriously. I mean, sometimes people get a calf strain and they miss, like, almost 2 months because it just takes forever to heal, and you want to be careful with it.
Yeah.
So it's like, if we're taking it seriously most of the time in the regular season, shouldn't we continue taking it that serious in the playoffs? Which I get. Like, if I was Tyrese Halliburton, I would want to play.
Yeah.
Which is why JP says, like, you got to protect the players, but you also kind of got to protect the players from themselves.
Yeah.
Right?
I think that's really realistically all you're doing, because I don't know that anyone wants to get back more than the players do. Well, not all you're doing, but
I mean, the coach,
main
I'm
thing.
sure Rick Carlisle really wished he had Tyrese Halliburton for Game 7.
Yes, but yeah, that's probably true. I still think that the person who wants out there the most is the player.
Well, I agree.
So, and also they are the ones who have the ability to lie about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And be like, no, I feel fine. I feel fine. So I think in reality, you're mainly protecting them from themselves.
Sure. And that's why I think if you send them to someone like an official at the game,
I'm
I don't
like-
know. I don't know how logistically sound that is, like how feasible that is.
I don't know either. And
But I would
it's
like
really,
that.
It's like it's a weird case.
Yeah.
It's a really weird case. And even if you get specific in the Halliburton case, where for me it felt like dude, you after they stole game 1 and we're already talking about this calf thing, like, could he not have sat for game 2? Could he not have sat even for game 3? Like, you win game 3, could he not have sat for game 4? And could you have given him an extra days of rest? Because even for the NBA Finals, where you get the 2 days of rest in between, it was still a problem for him, and it's still going to be a problem for him. And I agree with Jack. Like, team doctor, 100%. That should be a thing. That's still a thing in the NFL as well.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like you're saying, Sanders, we have to protect the players from themselves at some point, because, and I'm sure he was told this, but with the data that on calf strains and how they can lead to Achilles tears, I don't think at times the player has enough headspace to make that decision for themselves, because it goes just in line with concussion. They don't really know, because, I mean, go back and watch the injury. It's probably fresh in your mind because, like Jack said, you saw it 40 times tonight. Halliburton is barely pushing off on that leg. Like, the amount of force he is pushing off with is no different than you taking one step in your room and walking forward a step. Like, that is about how much force he's putting on his calf. But because his calf is strained and it's in such a dangerous spot, like, that's all it takes to pop his Achilles, and now he doesn't play for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I just feel like you have to somehow, there's got to be some way to protect the players from themselves, because they're going to put themselves in these bad positions. And it's not just calf strains. It can be ACL tears. It can be making a shoulder injury worse. And they're robbing themselves of valuable time, because you play in the NBA, you don't really get many years to do it. You don't get many chances to do it. And yeah, it sucks. It's the NBA Finals, and you want to play. But I think you got to protect yourself, and you got to protect your future.
Yeah.
Because he's about to go through hell for a summer. Same with Jason Tatum and
Damian Lillard. I mean, we had 3 Achilles pops in one postseason.
Well, it's crazy. 3 Pacers players tore their Achilles this year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
The other 2 are just like, you don't hear about them much because they weren't like massive rotation pieces or anything. But that's like, that's pretty bad. I'm not like trying to say, man, the Pacers medical staff is incompetent. But that does kind of make you raise your eyebrow. I mean, that's just 3 is pretty significant.
Yeah.
For perspective, 1 Western Conference player tore his ACL this year, or tore his Achilles. Sorry.
Yeah.
And then 3 Achilles were torn on the Pacers. So
yeah. And I have a couple of. Well, first I want to shout out Lucy, a pre-med, future med student. Pre-med. Anyway, she agrees with me. She said neutral medical staff equals only staying neutral for so long. So shout out being on the same page with the future med student. So, but also the critic in me, the devil's advocate, I'm a little not the biggest fan, because also in my brain, the NBA, like every other organization, their goal is to make money and grow their brand. And so even if you have NBA doctors, their goal is also going to be to get their superstars back on the court as quick as possible. Because a game with LeBron versus Steph, 10 years ago, sold a lot more seats than both those guys sitting out, especially with as many sit out now. Like, you don't want to add extra games where you're missing your superstars and you're missing your sellout crowds. So I don't even know if I would trust NBA doctors to be entirely neutral. I would be concerned that the NBA is going to be on them saying, hey, if you can get Tatum back an extra month early, like you should do that, because Madison Square Gardens is a lot fuller with Jason Tatum on the court, and we make a lot more money, and TV revenue is a lot higher, and numbers like that. So that's my critique towards putting NBA doctors, or I don't really trust them to be looking out for the best interest of the players entirely any more than the team doctors are already looking out for them.
Maybe not, but also in terms of like making money, right? It's like, yeah, Tyrese doesn't play in Game 7, they're going to lose some money there. But now Tyrese isn't going to play for a year.
Yeah.
And so they're going to lose out on all of that money, right? You know, even if Tyrese doesn't play in this Game 7, he plays all of next year, he leads them back to the playoffs. There's going to be so much momentum behind that Pacers storyline of like, they're back. You know, Tyrese is doing it again. I can't wait to tune in and watch him in the playoffs because of what he did last year. And now you're just going to get none of that.
Yeah, but then you're forcing them to assume he's going to get hurt. Because what if he doesn't get hurt?
I mean, it's just all risk management.
Correct.
They're minimizing the risk.
Correct.
I'm not saying they'll stay neutral, but I do think it goes both ways in terms of like they do have a good reason to protect their assets because that is what makes them money.
Correct.
So
I think it's becoming more important now than ever too, because we're getting in this era of sports, like guys are taller, faster, stronger. I mean, you go in baseball, more guys are having Tommy John injuries, and in football, it's gotten more dangerous. And the NFL has, in my opinion, done, while it sucks kind of seeing the product change so fast, they have done a great job in doing the best that they can to protect their players in the most violent sport in the world. And I think the NBA and the MLB, I don't know what you do with the MLB, but in this case for the NBA, like I think we've got something kind of has to happen here, because we are about to go, the storm has not came yet. We are about to go through some pain next season. The Eastern Conference is going to be abysmal, and we are going to get into the postseason, and the fix that people are going to try to make is, oh, let's get away from conferences and let's just seed them 1 through 16. Well, would it be that way if we had made this fix early on and, you know, Tatum doesn't pop his Achilles and Halliburton doesn't pop his Achilles and even Damian Lillard doesn't pop his Achilles? Like, that is going to be what the narrative – I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now. That's what the narrative is a year from now is, oh, we should go to 1 through 16 because a team is going to get left out of the Western Conference playoffs that should be in the playoffs. So I think we've got to make some kind of – something has to happen here, because we have to protect these players from themselves, because we're in an unprecedented time where these guys are so explosive. Like Aaron Nesmith back in the 1970s, like, come on now, he would cook. He would cook. And that's just Aaron Nesmith. Like, you get up this list, like, these guys are so athletic and so physically gifted. I mean, the plays that Jalen Williams makes, and he's still young, and the way that he's able to get up after these big hits and these nasty falls, like, they have spent their entire life being so young and athletic and healthy and not sustaining these big injuries. And when they get in these awful moments and they kind of bend their knee weird, they're feeling fine the next day. So they really have no clue what their body is capable of and what injuries they are capable of, what devastating injuries they are capable of. And it's something as simple as pushing off the back of your right leg can keep you off a basketball floor for 15 months. So I just feel like now more than ever, there has to be something has to happen here. And I don't know the fix, because it really is just popped in my mind tonight. But something has to happen here, because these players, they just need to be protected, no different than how the NFL protects players from concussions.
Sure. I mean, I agree. I don't know what the fix is. It's pretty clearly not going to be a simple, like, oh, do this, all problems are solved. But the last piece I want to say, too, is, like, I feel like there's a little bit of responsibility as fans as well to understand the severity of all of this and not get frustrated or call out players when they miss a game, because load management or something's bothering them, and it's so easy to just be like, oh, just play through it. It's not that bad. But here's why you don't play through it, right? So I think us as fans being more aware could honestly help some as well.
I agree. You wanna? We've been
Well
on
said.
the NBA and Tyrese for an hour. We want to keep moving.
Well, I'm about to say we're gonna stay on the NBA.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Well, we want to move on to our third segment after an hour on our first two.
We can move off of the Game 7, but I do want to give JP one more chance to say anything else he wants.
Do it.
Just because I know this is his thing, and his team won, the team he picked won, but also the team he's a fan of won. So, anything else you want to say, JP?
Congrats to OKC. I'm getting one of those hats, one of those rope hats. Those things look sick. That's one of the coolest championship gear I've seen in a long time.
Makes sense.
And the conversation popped up because MB asked, we were at Duncan's, and MB asked, what do they do with the other teams celebratory shirts and stuff? And I was like, they send them to Africa. That's what they do with all of them. And that was just sparked that conversation. That made me think of how will the African kids view this chapter in NBA history that the Pacers have completed this unbelievable storied run to a championship. So I just wanted to throw that thought out there because I thought it was hilarious.
There's people in Africa that think the Bills won 3 straight Super Bowls or something like that.
Four straight.
Thank you.
Super Bowls.
There's a lot of memes around that. The sending the losers stuff to other countries. But yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that's my final point on that.
Cool.
I'm excited for next season. We'll talk about it here in the Kevin Durant trade, though.
Yeah. So around noon, I don't remember the exact time. I'm at lunch with Sanders and his family, a couple other people.
It was 11:42.
11:42. He's got on the dot.
What time was the Luka trade?
I don't.
Okay.
That one I think was 10:30.
It was
or
pretty late at night.
It was pretty late.
Stupid late. I think it was 11:30.
I just didn't know if you knew off the top of your head.
Okay, at 11:42.
Because we were receiving the benediction in church as it popped up. So.
Massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at 11:42, Harris, Sanders' younger brother, goes, KD just got traded to the Rockets. And I was like, what? And he was like, KD just got traded to the Rockets.
I kind of thought it was like a Centel thing that he got.
Yeah, and so, he's not a Twitter guy.
No, he's not.
So I pull up my phone. I'm like, immediately, what's the package? And they got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, 5 seconds, and then the first round pick. That was my phone saying it's low battery, but we're chill. It's dropping slow.
Cool.
And then the 2025 10th overall pick. So the draft Wednesday's 10th overall pick. What?
Sorry, Lucy just distracted me with the chat. This is back to what we were just talking. I didn't mean. It just made me laugh. Okay, I'm sorry to put a pause.
No,
on
you're
that.
good. You're good.
You just keep going.
Yeah. And initial thoughts was like, that's it. For how good KD was and has been, that doesn't really seem like much. But when you think of context, the fact that it was very clear that KD wanted out, and the Suns have made it very clear they weren't keeping KD, that's going to drive down asking price. There's not much leverage there for the Suns. And then also the fact that as good as KD has been, he is 37.
Yeah.
So you really don't know how good he's going to, how much longer KD is going to be great. Though I do think he is a good fit for the Rockets. So I think I like it for both sides. As much as it does feel like Phoenix really didn't get much, you get the 10th overall pick this year. The one piece I really wish they would have got back is the 2027 first that the Rockets have of theirs. That's unprotected, which I understand why they didn't get that back because that's very valuable. But yeah, I wish they got that back. I'm happy for Rockets fans, though. I think this is a huge piece for them. It just is building on the excitement of this past year. KD gets another chance for a ring. He's out on his 5th team. Suns fans, I'm sorry that y'all went to the finals in 2021 and haven't got anywhere close to getting back, and this just puts y'all even further away from getting back. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the trade, JP?
So my first initial one was okay, the Rockets are making a move, and they're trying to make a win now move, and they're trying to keep up with the arms race, and similar in the Desmond Bane case, it was just okay, they're making a move to try and go at it right now, and like this is the only chance they got. But I don't feel that like it's the only chance they got. Like I feel like this is a move where like it helps them a ton this season, and then it could help them going forward as well because
Sure.
you get off the Jalen Green contract. That like if he fans out like they kind of feel like he might, then you've gotten off that contract, and now that's something you can give to Thompson. That's something you could potentially give to Reed Shepherd if he were to develop next
Sure.
season and going forward. And so it was like, wow, this like worked out really, really well for Houston. My biggest like next takeaway was, is this even enough? Like my first question immediately that I asked myself was, can with this Kevin Durant, a 38-year-old Kevin Durant next season and he's the number one option more than likely, is that enough to even make the Western Conference semifinals next season? And I can't even guarantee that because, I mean, you go through the list of the Western Conference, the defending champion, the Thunder. You have the Timberwolves who have played excellent in the postseason. You'll have Luka and LeBron and hopefully some form of a big man. You're going to have this Houston Rockets team again. I would not suspect that the Warriors and Jimmy Butler and Curry are going to not be in the postseason next season. Wemby and the Spurs should make some kind of move. You would hope, Jack, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'd expect them to be much better next year.
Cooper Flagg and Anthony Davis has the chance to be a potential playoff team.
James
the Denver
Harden,
Nuggets-
Kawhi.
James Harden, Kawhi, and the Clippers they're going to be in that conversation again. Jokic, NBA champion, they're going to be back in the postseason. That's 9 teams already. You think about potentially maybe the Grizzlies make some kind of move. And then, I mean, the Kings are terrible. The Jazz are going to be terrible. Sorry to them. The Blazers are going to be terrible.
I think the
But, like,
Blazers will be decent.
There's at least 8 teams where you can say like confidently, okay, that should be a playoff team.
Yeah.
And maybe the Suns are even a playoff team as well next season. They are going to make a few more moves, I suspect, because they have 5 shooting guards right now.
Yeah, they're not keeping Jalen Green.
Yeah, I saw that report. That's kind of crazy to me. I feel like I would have kind of kept him, but we can get into that in a second.
Sure.
So, yeah, I guess I asked the question to you, Jack, and even to you, Sanders, is like, can you say confidently right now that this is a team that can win the first playoff series? Because right now, like, having not seen them play, I just don't know if I can even say that because, like, the only team, like, I mean, I think the Thunder can win a playoff series, and they're the defending champions. So the Western Conference is going to be insane next year. So I for one, I don't understand their move up Vegas and being the second odds favorite to win it next season. But yeah, I do they even make the second round?
I would say this: the Rockets were the 2 seed this year,
Mhm.
and they just got better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like just a very simple, like, they added a piece that is going to improve their roster. They lost in the first round, right? Second round?
No, first.
They
Sorry,
lost.
yeah, they
That's
was
what I
the
thought.
first. My bad.
You good? They lost in the first to the Warriors.
Yeah.
Or the Timberwolves.
Warriors.
And so yeah, the West is definitely going to be deep, and that the 3 through 8 seeds was it 3 through 8? It was like 2 games of separation. Like there was that really tight grouping in the West.
Yeah.
And so it's really hard to create separation there, and it was this season, and it will be next season. But I think that's thinking too far down the road. I think you just have to think about the offseason, about getting better, without giving up too much of your future. And I think that the Rockets definitely did that. Especially, and I know that this is a different comparison, but the Grizzlies just traded, what was his face, to the
Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain to the Magic, and they received multiple first-round picks.
4.
4 first-round picks. And the Suns just got 1. And I get that there's an age difference, but in my opinion, there's also a talent difference. I don't follow the NBA. I know the name Kevin Durant. I do not know the name Desmond Bain. That doesn't mean everything, but to me, I'm like, all right, well, I mean, Kevin Durant, he may not be as good as he once was, but he just had a really good season. He is still good. he was probably the best player on that Suns team. Desmond Bane was not the best player on that Grizzlies team. So thanks, JP. Appreciate that. Love to hear it. I would rather have KD than Desmond Bane on a win now team at least. And I think that, and I'm also interested to see how this, we can talk about this if we want to, what this means on the market for potential Giannis trade.
Sure.
There's an age difference there. But if we want to address that, I have some thoughts there. Because now we've seen a young star traded or a young player traded. I don't know if he's a star or not, and then an older star or superstar, if you didn't give him that label, traded for two very different packages. So I think the Rockets got better, and I do not think they gave up too much. I think they very much won this trade.
Yeah, to answer your question, JP, I can't guarantee them a semifinals appearance, a conference semifinals appearance. If you ask me right now, I do think it's a greater chance they make it than not. By what margin, I don't know. I don't think it's a great margin. Sure. I agree with Sanders. I mean, this trade makes the Rockets better. The real question is just how much better. And I really feel like a lot of people make sense. You're relying on another jump from Amen Thompson. You're relying on Reed Shepherd to become a key rotation piece and actually play minutes this year, stuff like that.
Which, can I say something? I think that these guys are both guards, right?
Yeah.
I think that Reed Shepherd didn't get a chance to play because he was stuck behind Dylan Brooks, Jalen Green, and Fred Van Fleet.
Yeah.
And so now trading, I mean, this is kind of a win-win where you bring in KD to play in a position where you kind of needed help, and then you open up a spot for Reed Shepherd to kind of come out of the G League and get some more opportunity there. So that was just, sorry. Reed Shepherd made me think of that.
It definitely is interesting. I mean, he'll still have to play behind Fred because I don't see how you possibly put him and Fred Van Vliet on the floor at the same time for an extended run because I think your defense would really suffer in that regard. So, yeah, but that's a good point. Even a guy like Cam Whitmore can maybe find more minutes now. It's just hard to tell, man, because like you said, the West is so good. My brother-in-law's prediction is that they win 3 less games than they do next year after this trade, but he's also a chronic KD hater.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to know. But, yeah, it's props to the Rockets for going and making a move to kind of, get better. But this isn't anything that makes me go, like, I don't view the Rockets as a legit championship contender now. I'll say that right now.
Yeah.
So I agree. I don't understand why their odds are now the second highest. So
I think I said at the beginning, they won the trade 100% because they won it in the now, and I think they're going to win it in the future as well. And Kevin Durant on this team gives them a better chance in the postseason. I agree with your brother-in-law in the case that I think they're going to win less regular season games, which is because like they lose 2 key pieces. Like, I mean, Jalen Green scored 26 points per game. Or not 26. I think it was 23 or 24 points per game. He was their leading scorer in the regular season, and they lose that. And then they lose 10 points a game in Dylan Brooks, and you add on 26 points per game in Kevin Durant. So, like, I mean, there's a drop-off there in terms of points per game. And while you expect it to come from Reed Shepherd and other pieces going forward, there's some potential fall-off there. I think it makes them a little weaker defensively, especially throughout a regular season. And I don't think you can expect Kevin Durant to play as many games as Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks did.
No.
Jalen Green did not miss a game in the regular season. So that's a key piece you're missing. My problem is because of that, like with how good the Western Conference is and with how tightly packed it was this season as well, is that going to be a problem for them? Like, are they going to be in a spot where they're in the play-in? And if they're in the play-in, are they going to have to play another elite Thunder team or elite Lakers team without home court advantage in the first round? And this is Kevin Durant's first time with this team, and you still kind of have these young guys you're going to have to rely on, and are they going to be able to push through that? Like, it almost feels like their best matchup would be themselves in a way. Like, if they could have played this year's Rockets team in the first round, that would be an ideal first-round matchup. But with how good the Western Conference is, like, go down the list, like, the team with the least playoff experience is, like, the Grizzlies. Like, It would be the Spurs if they were to make it.
Yeah.
But it would be basically the Grizzlies. Like,
I mean,
these are
Giannis is going to
all
bring
of
some
these
playoff
teams have made.
experience.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Giannis, if he goes there, it's an NBA champion, and that's something the Thunder or the Rockets have as well with Fred VanVleet and Kevin Durant. But that's where I'm worried for them, because if they don't have the regular season go as well, and they are in that play-in kind of spot, are they good enough to go out there as the first time being this edition of the Houston Rockets and win a playoff series on the road? And are they able to do that multiple times? Because that's what it's going to take.
Sure.
Like, that's what it took for the Minnesota Timberwolves, and that's what it is going to take for the Houston Rockets if they're in that spot next season. And that's where it kind of gets me a little scary. But I do want to say, like, if they get to the postseason, I think they're really, really good, because they're good. If Reed Shepherd develops the way that we think he is going to, and the way that, if he's the Reed Shepherd we saw going up, toe to toe with
the Josh
greatest
Hubbard,
Mississippi basketball player of all time, in Josh Hubbard, like, then I think the Rockets are in a great spot, because they can have a lineup where they go with Fred VanVleet, Reed Shepherd, Kevin Durant, Thompson, Şengün. They're good defensively, but they are just that could be elite offensively. I mean, think of the two-man game with Şengün and Kevin Durant and Thompson with both of those guards. Like, that would be electric. And then you look at a potential, like, defensive lineup where they go with, Tari Eason and Thompson and Kevin Durant and Steven Adams and Şengün. Like, my goodness, that is some mountains of men, and excellent defenders as well. And the way you saw the the way you saw the Thunder lock in defensively, like, that's a dangerous lineup. I think this trade gives them a key piece in NBA Finals MVP, playoff experience, has always showed up in the postseason, has really never had a bad postseason.
Yeah.
Which is something they lacked a ton this postseason. But I think with the ability to now be able to play Reed Shepherd, they're going to be able to create some really fantastic lineups. And so I agree. It makes them better. I'm just curious, are they going to be in a bad spot where they're in the play-in and they have to go out there and win on the road as the first, version of this team?
Yeah, I agree with that. I want to say two quick things, and then we can move on to the Suns side. You hit it on the head that KD makes them way more versatile and gives them a lot more options. Because we talked about it when they were playing the Warriors, after a couple games. It was kind of like they don't really have any other buttons to push, right? Like, they have to go out and play their style and hope they win with that way. They didn't have any flexibility, is the word I was looking for. And now I don't remember what the second point I was going to make was. Oh, yeah, now I do. I also do like this move in the sense of this wasn't their all-in move because of what they had to give up to get him, right? They still have tons of assets. So if this doesn't necessarily work out like they hoped, it's not like they're sunk, right? They can pivot pretty easily elsewhere, and they have multiple other ways to still make their team better. So I think that's pretty key to look at kind of context-wise too.
Yeah, I mean, even if it's have a season with KD where he's good but it doesn't work out, and then you flip him, and I don't know, maybe if you can.
I think KD's a free agent after this season.
Is he? Okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know that. Well, then.
Yeah, got one season.
Okay.
But then you just move on from him.
Yeah, exactly. You just move on from him, and you've got money to pay your young guys like Shepherd, and you still have your first-round picks because you only had to give up one. So you've got your 26 and your 27. Well, I guess you don't have your 27.
You have the Suns 27.
You're the Suns 27.
I think they may have their own 27 too.
You thought Phoenix. You wanted Phoenix.
I wanted Phoenix to get
Yes.
their own back.
Yes, I see
because
now.
the Rockets have theirs.
Yeah.
Via like Brooklyn. I don't.
So you want to talk? So I don't know that much about the Suns. You want to lead it off on what this means for the Suns? I mean, they.
Yeah,
for
it kind of signifies the end of an era where they went to the finals in 2021. Obviously, D-Book's still around, but they brought KD in to kind of be the missing piece, take him to the next level, and clearly that didn't work out. I don't think they made it out of the second round after they made the finals. So just like really didn't get close.
They had the second round against Luka.
Yeah.
And then Chris Paul hits a huge three to cut it to 42.
That's right. That's right.
But that was as deep as they ever got.
Yeah. They just kind of ran into the position of money issues. Then they trade for Bradley Beal because the KD stuff isn't clearly enough. And Bradley Beal's not good anymore, but you gave him a ton of money and you also gave him a full no trade clause. So he's just chilling there making money and he has no desire to leave.
Yeah.
And
Or
now
play. Has he been playing?
he plays some, but he also is injured a lot and he's just not nearly as effective. I think he's making $50-something million to be a guy that, does deserve NBA minutes, but not the star that he was in Washington, not even close.
Right.
And throughout it all, it's also been poor roster construction. They've struggled to find a good big man. They trade away Ayton, being like DeAndre Ayton's the problem. Clearly wasn't really the problem, or wasn't the only problem. I don't actually think Ayton was that good. But now JB basically said it. Their 5 best players are shooting guards. So they're going to have to look to do some major shifting. I'm interested to see what they do in terms of trying to convince Devin Booker to stay around. But they have a lot of questions to be answered and a lot of decisions to make. And so I'm kind of interested to see where they go with it. What do you think they do, JP?
I would keep Jalen Green, unless you're trying to say that, we're going to go out there and try and win now.
Yeah.
But then you even get to the point where, are the Suns going to make the 7-8 play-in game? Are they even that good?
I don't think so, personally.
I sure don't think so. Even with whatever they could get for Jalen Green. So I would keep Jalen Green personally. I would keep Jalen, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, Bradley because you have to.
Yeah.
And then I would maybe look to move Dylan Brooks and Grayson Allen because those are two pieces, especially with the way their contracts are kind of shaped, that you could move for some younger talent, or you get a big man of some kind if you wanted to compete for whatever reason, or you just take an expiring contract and get a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Or 2 seconds or something. You trade that into capital, in my opinion, because those are 2 role players. Grayson Allen could contribute to a team, really well because of his three-point shooting. And Dylan Brooks could do the same with his defense. So those are 2 pieces I think you move. I would not move Jalen Green. That doesn't make any sense to me. He's locked in to a decent contract. And the way he played in the regular season, he's been kind of viewed like he should be on the same kind of trajectory as a Cade Cunningham, even an SGA to a level. And I think you give him the ropes. You let him play with one of the most prolific scorers we've ever seen in NBA history in Devin Booker. And maybe he can develop that kind of confidence that D-Book has.
Yeah.
To potentially shine bright in a postseason one day. But I don't see the incentive in trading him because what I saw in the regular season, leading scorer for the 2nd seed in the Western Conference is not nothing. And yeah, he sucked in the postseason, but maybe that is who he is, but maybe it's not. Maybe it's just it was his first postseason, his first playoff appearance. He had a good game where he scored 35 plus points, and so maybe he just had a bad series and kind of lost his confidence. And he was facing a team in the Warriors that had great defensive matchups for him, and Buddy Hield defended him well throughout the series. But you had Jimmy Butler, you had Gary Payton, Draymond is amazing at getting under the skin of young guys like that. He gets under Şengün's skin throughout that series. So I would keep him. I don't see why trading Jalen Green helps you because I don't know who you get for him, but whoever you're getting for him, I can't even guarantee you're a 7 or an 8 seed and make that play-in game.
Sure.
Much less even potentially in the 9-10 play-in game. Because who knows? The Spurs could be good next year.
We better be.
The Blazers could be good next year. We expect the Mavericks to be no worse than they are with Cooper Flag. And then if you just keep the 8 teams above them in the postseason as well, like they're still sitting there at the 10 seed at best. So I don't see the moving of Jalen Green. Jalen Green is a future piece for me, and he's someone I think you try and develop.
Yeah, it's weird because it seems like the philosophy is, we move Jalen Green to stay competitive, but I'm not sure you find a piece better than Jalen Green in terms of helping you stay competitive. And also, I don't think you can stay competitive regardless. So even though you don't have your picks and stuff, you might as well try and buy into the younger player you just got. But it doesn't look like they're going to do that. So, classic Suns.
Cool.
We want to
I
move
kinda
on?
tuned out. We done?
I don't have anything else to add.
All right. Your lottery mock draft.
Let's knock it out real quick. I like to preface this by saying I'm not some draft guru or, anything like that. I just thought it'd be fun to do.
I mean, you worked on this for at least 30 minutes in the car ride up from Jackson today.
Well, I've done previous research, I'd
I
like
know,
to say.
I'm
But yeah, I'm not really a huge basketball guy, so I can't say like my eye for talent's insane or anything. But I put some effort into this list. I cooked it up.
You said at least one name I don't think I recognized.
At least one?
I think so.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start rolling through it. If y'all want to jump in, feel free to. But also, if you don't have anything to say, we can just keep kind of chugging along. So I'm not really going to stop. I'll maybe give a couple of small pauses for y'all to interject.
Okay.
And feel free. But yeah, Dallas Mavericks are on the clock at number 1. Pretty obvious what they're going to do. They're taking Cooper Flagg. Elite two-way prospect, one of the best.
What if they trade away?
What if they traded away?
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be crazy from Nico Harrison. I guess you couldn't put it past him. This is a no trades mock. I will go and put that out there right now. So, okay. If they do it, I will.
all I had to add.
I will dance on their grave. But yeah, elite two-way prospect, one of the best prospects we've seen in years. He reclassified, so he's even younger. And so for him to be as polished as he is in all aspects of the game, having no true weaknesses, is just very impressive. Brings great intensity. He's a great defender. He passes well. He rebounds well for his size. He's good in help side defensively, especially around the rim. I guess the one kind of knock on his game, but he improved it steadily throughout the year at Duke. He's not an elite shot creator for himself, but he's been working on it. It's been getting better. There's no reason to believe that's not going to come around. And if he unlocks that, then, I mean, the sky's the limit for this kid. The unanimous. I mean, you're not going to find a mock that has someone else going number 1. Then at number 2, I have the Spurs taking Dylan Harper. There's been a lot of rumors, which I think they're rumors for the sake of making rumors. I don't think there's been tons of substance to this, that the Spurs would consider trading this pick. It's not the Spurs' way to make these big splashes. They like drafting their talent, evaluating it, developing it from the start. Dylan Harper's a great prospect. He'd be the number 1 prospect in a lot of drafts. He would have been the number 1 draft prospect last year. A bigger guard around 6'6", which is what the modern NBA wants, is a bigger point guard that can handle the kind of physical nature of today's game. He's elite at getting into the paint and making plays off 2 feet, and finishing at the rim. He's good with a live dribble. He can defend pretty well. The size at 6'6" helps him with that. The only thing is he doesn't have the best outside shot. Shot at around 30% at Rutgers. But kind of similar to Cooper Flagg with his shot creation, there's reason to believe that he has what it takes to develop an outside shot, and it's something he's been working on and will continue to work on. And if he can kind of find that, he has what it takes to stick at point guard at the next level and really be an all-star alongside Wemby. So there's been question about the fit with the Spurs because they have De'Aaron Fox and Stephon Castle, but you're just going to go best player available here. So I'm not really too worried about that.
Yeah,
Third.
he's a layup pick.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say like the question about fit is like the question of, well, are the Spurs gonna have anybody that can shoot a 3? But my pushback would be, did you watch the last 2.5 weeks of basketball? Like the Thunder have really no one on that
Sure.
team besides Aaron Wiggins and Isaiah Joe that are like known 3-point shooters. So with Wemby in the center of that defense, like surrounding that team with a bunch of defenders, like the Spurs could be a team if Dylan Harper develops where like they're holding teams under 90 points.
Yeah.
Almost, because they have a chance to be that prolific defensively. So, and Dylan Harper, like, it's Cooper Flag 1, Dylan Harper 2 in my book.
Completely
Outside
agree.
of that, it really, anyone could go anywhere. So there's just no reason to not take Dylan Harper here.
Completely agree. And one last thing about fit, I saw someone put it this way on Twitter, and I completely agree. It's like, I don't care how well you fit with everyone on the Spurs team. I just care how you fit alongside Wemby, because that's who you're building around. And he fits really well with Wemby. And so there's no reason not to draft him. Third overall, the 76ers are on the clock. This is another place they've kind of been rumored to maybe looking for a trade, depends on how they view it, what they want to do in terms of trying to stay competitive or maybe going into a reloading type of season. I have them going VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. One of the best athletes in this class, one of the best point of attack defenders in this class. I think he's someone that you could plug and play at the next level in terms of the 76ers looking to potentially stay competitive. They already have guys like Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, if he stays healthy, guys that demand the ball a lot. So being able to draft a guy who can come in and defend well immediately, doesn't need the ball to be impactful, I think is a smart decision for them. And he does have upside in that regard. Started off the season shooting pretty poorly at Baylor, but it came around towards the end of the season. And with how athletic he is and explosive he is, there's good reason to believe that he can find a pretty consistent and impactful offensive game at the next level to warrant him being taken this high, because you're not going to take a straight defender at 3. But he has serious upside. So I like him at 3. Number 4, you have the Hornets on the clock. And I have them going Ace Bailey, which is kind of an interesting one. We have all the rumors now that basically is Ace Bailey's trying to tank his draft stock to slide to what we think is he wants to go to Brooklyn. He's not going to any tryouts or meeting with teams. He's doing his own thing. It's not really a good look in my opinion. I don't really know what he's doing. He's being a bit of a bozo. But despite him trying to slide, I think he's too talented to drop to 8, which is where Brooklyn is, if that's really where he wants to go. Unless he does something outrageous, like post a video of him saying slurs or something.
But if he told Brooklyn beforehand, he said psych, before he did it. He said,
correct.
Guys, I'm doing this for y'all.
Yeah. But no, I think he's too good. I think the other player you potentially look at here is Trey Johnson, but he doesn't really fit the Hornets because you already have shooters there like LaMelo and Brandon Miller. I think I'd like someone to play a bit bigger, can potentially develop defensively. But anyway, about Ace Bailey, he's the best shot maker in this class. He'll take tough shots all day, shots that you really don't want him taking, and just knock them down. It's unreal. People have compared it to KD. That's lofty goals. That's a dream scenario for any prospect to get there. But yeah, he just is a great scorer. The only knock is he doesn't really do anything else great yet. Now he's a young player, but I don't really expect him to ever be a great passer. He has the size and length, like I said earlier, to be a good defender. But you're really drafting him on the thought that he can be a offensive stud and just be a first or second option for a championship team. 5, Trey Johnson from the Texas Longhorns, sadly. Horns down. He's been getting a lot of buzz. Some people have him going as high as 3 to the 76ers. I don't love that fit, so I didn't have him going there. Great shooter, elite shooter. Shot about 40% from 3 at Texas as a freshman. Tough threes, too. I mean, Texas was not a good team. What?
Spelled his name wrong. That's tough.
I should have corrected you. Anyway, so he was the focal point of defensive game plan. So sidestep threes, off the catch threes off the dribble, threes on the move, off curls, whatever. He was hitting them all. And it's just precious commodity in the NBA, honestly, is just to be an elite shooter. And he showed flashes of being a good passer. I don't think he'll ever be anything special there. But reasons to believe he wouldn't be a black hole. The biggest question with him is he's kind of a bit slender, and so his rim pressure isn't great. He may not ever be someone that can really effectively get into the paint and play from 2 feet there. But yeah, I have him going to the Jazz at 5. Wizards at 6. Kind of get scammed in this draft, being one of the worst teams, and ending up picking at 6. But I have them taking a favorite of mine in Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. Fears is another guy that reclassified in this class like Cooper Flagg. So he's very, very young, very, very quick. That's kind of what pops out on the page to me or on the screen when I watch him, is just how fast, how quick he is. Relentless at attacking the rim. Creates rim pressure all game long and can finish when he gets there, despite a bit of a smaller build. 2 questions for him. High turnover rate. He had like over 4 turnovers a game or something like that, which he's a young guy. You hope he can clean that up. And then outside shot was inconsistent at times. So you would really hope he'd be able to find that if he wants to stick at the next level and be a starter. But I just love the kind of it factor and grit he plays with, and that speed is just something you can't teach. So I'd be very happy if I was the Wizards taking him at 6, kind of a consolation for not getting a top pick. At 7, I have Conca from Duke going to the Pelicans. Pelicans are a dumpster fire. I don't really know what I would do if I were them. So I'm just kind of taking someone I think can be a consistent force and be a steady player for them. White guy stereotype. But he's another great shooter. Shot it very well at Duke as a freshman. Has a bit of size to him, so even if he's not the quickest player, I think he'll be able to hold up pretty well defensively. He also has a high IQ. I think he's someone that could be a secondary ball handler and run pick and rolls because of that. He just sees the floor really, really well. So I would like that pick if I was the Pelicans. They're just kind of in purgatory, so it's like what do you do? At 8, I have the Nets taking Kamon Maluak. I think they may look to move off Nicholas Claxton pretty soon, just considering the market for big men. There's a lot of buyers and not a ton of sellers. So then they could get good value for him and kind of pick the replacement here. Kamon Maluak hasn't been playing basketball for very long. I think for like 5 or 6 years he's been playing. But at like 7'2", he's a true defensive anchor, just an absolute beast of a rim protector. Not great indicators that he'll ever have an elite offensive game or anything like that, but he's someone that can get down the floor pretty well for his size, throw down lobs. You put him with a good point guard, he can set good screens, do all the little things, and so still be productive and impactful on the offensive end. Just not someone that'll give you 20 points a night or anything like that. At 9, I have the Raptors taking Carter Bryant. The Raptors love their long defensive wings. Time and time again, OG Anunoby, someone like Pascal Siakam, just, a couple examples in recent years. And Carter Bryant is that. He played at Arizona, and just truly is a defensive-oriented wing that has risen throughout this draft process. He didn't really score much at all at Arizona. I think around like 6 points a game, so really not great. But he shows a good shooting stroke from deep. And so I think he'll be able to find that in the spacing of the NBA, be able to knock down shots, and then combine that with his good defense is just something the Raptors really like. And so I think they'll look to take him here at 9. The Suns, we just talked about the Suns because of the KD trade. But I have them taking Derek Queen. They need help at center, and he's a bit of an unorthodox one at like 6'9", so an undersized center. But he has phenomenal hands and just has great vision out of the post as an elite passer there, can really facilitate from there. There's questions about him ever having an outside shot, which considering he's 6'9", would be ideal if he could develop something there. But he's just so crafty, very polished with the footwork and everything, and so could really make an impact there and kind of help sort out their center position. Though I do think they need to add something else because he's not really going to profile to be a great defender either, and may take some time. So if they want to contend next year, they'll have to add something else. But I think he's a good building block for down the line. Also to note, that pick they just got back from the Rockets today in their trade. So at 11, I have the Blazers taking Cedric Coward, another 3-and-D wing from Washington State that has had some injury issues, but has been a huge riser in this draft process. Played really well in the games at the Combine. Was actually going to go to Duke, I believe he committed to Duke out of the transfer portal, and then because he played so well, decided to enter the draft. 7'2" wingspan just allows him to be really, really disruptive on the perimeter and also be a good rim protector, and then shoots the ball pretty well. So those two pieces right there, I think it's something the Blazers could really use. They have a lot of guards already. They have Klingon down low. So just another piece to add in there as they look to kind of start getting into their competitive window. 12, the Bulls are on the clock. I have them taking Thomas Sorber out of Georgetown, another center. He has a 7'6" wingspan, just a huge man. I think he processes the game really well. Is a great screen setter, very hard-nosed. Georgetown didn't really have a good team. He was kind of the lone bright spot, but was able to create offense for himself until he got injured with a foot injury, was just putting up a really nice season. And I think he's someone that can come in and give the Bulls a good answer down low to pair with guys like Josh Giddey and Kobe White, set them some good screens, play in the pick and roll with them, and then be solid defensively. So I really, really like that pick for the Bulls. Hawks are a very interesting team at 13. I think they would have loved Thomas Sorber, and they really need a center. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they went with center here. But Kasparis Jakučionis, who is a point guard, so the opposite of center, is still on the board here from Illinois. And also, I think they go best player available here. Look to get someone else that can handle the rock besides Trae Young. He's got some size to him as well. So if he finds consistency with his three-point shot that was streaky at Illinois, I think you could play him alongside Trae Young some, even though his primary gift is being a floor general and passing. It's pretty unreal. So I would not be surprised if they went there, but I also would not be surprised if they went with a center. I just don't think there's a center that they really would like at 13. And so we get to the last pick of the lottery, and it's kind of funny I say that the Hawks don't have a center they would like at 13 because I have the Spurs taking a center at 14 and Danny Wolf, which is a bit of a reach probably. But I'm a Spurs fan and want to have some fun with this pick, and I would really like him to play alongside Wemby. He's a very savvy player, has multiple years under his belt at college. True 7-footer, but can shoot and handle the ball really well and passes great for his size. Does have some turnover issues. And there is an overall lack of athleticism that I think caps his ceiling, which is why I would love him alongside Wemby, because the lack of athleticism really is probably going to show up defensively. But if you have Wemby there to help him and really anchor the defense, I think that would allow him to be a little more free. Then you could play him offensively, utilize his skill set, let him try and knock down some shots, initiate some offense, kind of be a funky little piece for the Spurs to experiment with and, throw in a wrinkle into their game plan. So, yeah, that's what I have for the lottery. I was not at all prepared. I feel like I need a massive drink of water now. But it was fun. I enjoyed putting it together. So
Awesome. I think that's it. That is our longest show in a hot second. We just wrapped up. We're at almost hour 45. We've been sitting around that hour 15, hour 30 mark. So we cooked. It was a doozy.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. Really do need some water now. I can't wait to hit the water fountain outside. But now I can't wait to get like 2 of those correct, and it'll be Cooper Flagg and Dylan Harper. So
The Georgetown guy. That's who I didn't know.
Thomas Sorber.
Yeah.
I mean, once again, he
Or
played
the Washington State guy.
He played at Georgetown, who wasn't very good, but also he got hurt fairly
I didn't
early
know
into the season.
Did not know the
So,
Washington State guy.
shall we wrap it up? JP?
Yeah, let's do it, man.
He
Bet.
fell asleep at the wheel over there.
No,
I mean, I just hijacked the show for a
Nah,
couple
you
minutes.
good. You good.
laptop looks sick, by the way, Singe.
Appreciate it. We are. I should have covered the name in a duct tape, since it's not sponsored. But yeah, it's run smoothly. We ran a little test recording earlier, and it seemed fine. I'm gonna check this one the minute I end the recording. Fingers crossed.
I love how you're using 5% of your CPU, and on the old computer, you would be using like
60.
60.
Yeah. Big upgrades. Big upgrades over the weekend. Editing videos is gonna be a lot easier. Playing games is gonna be a lot easier. So.
The Siege is going to look great on that computer.
No. Siege is for the Xbox.
Okay.
Siege is for the Xbox.
My bad.
Yep. I gotta go home. I finally unlocked ranked. I got to level 20. JP, I think probably understands what that means. Well, I know he understands what that means.
Yeah, that'd be
I
crazy
do.
if he didn't.
No, I
I'd
just didn't know if he'd forgotten what it was like to like be a beginner. That it wasn't like a dig. It was more of like a if he
Sure.
even remembered what it was like because he's so good.
Nah, I remember.
All right.
Maybe,
Well,
maybe we'll get you out there at some point. We'll see.
it's been fun. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So let's wrap it up.
Bet.
We all have work tomorrow morning.
Yeah,
So
it'll be
thank
all
you.
good.
Shout out Lucy being active in the chat tonight.
Kind of a shocker. No disrespect, but some disrespect there. But it was fun to have her in the chat. But yeah, if you've made it this far into, like Sanders said, one of our longest shows in a while, we appreciate it. Hope you all enjoyed, and we'll be back for y'all on Wednesday with more content.